Hey everyone, Ekman here with another video, and today we have a top 8 breakdown for the pre-Card Fest tournament that I ran this past weekend. It was over 40 players, and it's kind of like a practice tournament for people getting ready for the Card Fest meta. That's the end of this week, at least for North America. It's the same format that we had in Liverpool for their event this past weekend as well, where it's OPO7, but we have Red Purple Law as well as Innis Lobby banned from this format. So it's a really small format, but since it's really only for like this week and next week, but after that we have OPO8 as well, which also continues having the same restrictions. But I don't know, the OPO7 has been a really good meta in my opinion. It's been really diverse. A lot of different decks are viable right now, which I think is really cool, and I hope that continues to OPO8. I have a little bit of confidence that we'll see some diversity, but honestly I think this is like one of the peak moments for this card game right now. So anyways, going over this event, we do have our 45 players with this top 8 that we see here. And also, sorry, real quick, if you guys want to see on the deck list, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events. We live streamed it, so me and Strongest Wizard were able to do live stream for it, and it's already on YouTube. I wasn't able to edit it down since I am going to Card Fest at the end of this week, so it's free to watch, just you have to jump through the other matches, so I'm sorry about that. And then also shouts to Risu for being the judge for this event too. I could not have run this event without them. But going into the top 8, we do have 2 Star Deck 13 Luffys, 2 Luccis, 1 Bonney, one of them winning the event, Nami, Sabo, as well as Reiju. So again, pretty diverse. And if you look at the leader breakdown too, there's just so many different leaders that were being run in the event in general. Obviously I think Lucci is probably, if not the best leader in the game, probably the most popular leader that people sleeve up for these kind of tournaments. Luffy's right behind that too, and then we do see some Reiju, some of the Boa, we have Enel, we have Nami, and Dofi as well. So I'm surprised that Blue didn't do a little bit better. I know a lot of people are on it, and I think it does do really well into Luffy, and also I think it does well into Bonney as well, and I think Bonnie's a little bit more popular, but I also still think like Lucci still does some really good work into the decks too. So anyways, these are the the leaders and the top 8, but we're going to jump into the toppling list for each one of these leaders, starting off with our first place list, which is Liam's version of Bonney. And I think Bonney is one of the bigger winners for this format. I think Red Purple Law was a little bit aggressive for it, and it had a hard time setting up blockers reliably for it, especially with how the leader would interact with Basil as your blocker. But now that we have like a little bit more time to set up, and now that we're able to, I don't know, I think like we have a really good matchup still against Black Yellow Luffy. I know a lot of people are still trying to figure out if there's a way to tech to make this matchup a little bit more winnable, but I think Bonnie's still in the lead for most of that. We do still have our really good cards of like our top end of Hody. We have Eustace Kid. 9-drop Zoro I think is in a better spot for this format. Against some matchups, it just wins you the game if you play it on curve. Again, like Black Yellow Luffy hates to see this card, and I think a lot of it just put a lot of pressure, right? If you're not playing against something like Rob Lucci, our deck that can remove this as soon as it comes out, which I think not a lot can do that right now. This can just, again, win you the game on the spot. So I think it's great to be able to put in Bonney and still get there more consistently. And then obviously our 10 drop, we're playing 4 copies of that. So we're doing the 50-50 package of Don Quixote Pirates and Supernovas, which sometimes can step on each, like have issues where your baby 5 only finds Supernovas, and vice versa for your Bonnies. But when you're able to see your pieces and kind of go off, I think this deck is in a really good spot. So don't really have much more to say. I think I like Bonney a lot more in this format right now, and congratulations to Liam for their finish there. Next up for second place, we've got Luffy. So this is Star Deck 13 Luffy, and as mentioned, a lot of people are trying to figure out the best way to beat Bonney now that that's probably our worst matchup consistently with this deck. And so a lot of people have been running Kuzans, the 4 cost as well as the 10 cost, and also the finger gun, which we're playing 4 whole copies of this card, which is insane. So I do really like what this card can do for the deck, especially against like Bonney. If they play Cavendish on curve, you can just answer it with this finger gun pretty nicely, which I like to see. And then also the Kuzan to get stuff into range. So we're playing a lot of tech cards, and because of that, we do have to run out of some other, like we have to find some room. So we're not playing any of the aces in this one, which I think is fine. You do kind of have a worse Nami matchup because of that in my mind, but I think you're okay otherwise. I do like 10 drop Kuzan, don't get me wrong. I think this card can be really, really good, but my worry about it is that most of the time I find that we don't really have time to play this. And if we really want to get this card to be like successful. I think Ice Age is like a little bit better at times, but the idea that we can still run cards like Kuzan to get this -4, so you can use this with Luffy to get rid of an 8 cost, Art the Finger Gun to get rid of a 9 cost, which is really great. And I think the stack is, I think the techs are good, and I think that they're leaning towards the better version of what this deck looks like too. But again, I'm not just a big fan of this card. I tried it a lot, but I think it's still a little bit clunky. And I think the one-time Ice Age is better than having to spend 10 Dawn to establish this one Kuzan at times. So, but this is the build here. Congratulations to Ash for their second place there. And then moving on to third place, we've got Kobe with their version of Rob Lucci. And again, as mentioned, I think Rob Lucci is, if not the best leader in this format, the most popular. A lot of people are playing this. A lot of people played Sakazuki, and a lot of people played Gecko Moria, and I think this is just better than both because it's a playable leader because Sakazuki's banned, and Moria is still, I think, is an okay spot, but I think Rob Lucci, if like Moria is like more consistent, but Lucci is better at high rolling at times, and when they high roll, they really can't lose. So I think that obviously we do want to run our like 8-drop Morias. We do have some text for like the black yellow matchup where we have 3 copies of Monkey.D.Luffy, which is quite a bit, and also 2 copies of Brook, which can also be technically for the Nami matchup, which is nice. And then we also do have stuff like our Brook combo still. A lot of people are kind of off this card because of Ines Lobby being banned, but I still think it's in a good spot, and I would run it in my own builds right now too. We have like a copy of Borsalino, like a lot of like 1s and 2s, like a really personalized copy of this deck, and then just a single copy of Finger Gun. I probably try to find room for 2, but we also have like the 6 King pistol. So again, like a lot of 1-ofs to kind of help with, I think, some range of things. And again, like Luffy's really good in a lot of situations, though. It definitely does miss Ines Lobby being around, right? Like you can attack with Leader, you can use Ines Lobby's effect to give -3 to a Sabo, and then this Luffy is free to attack without using any Dawn to do so, which I think is impactful for it. So we'll see if Lucci's able to consistently find a way to beat Black Yellow Luffy, but I do think that's like its only bane in this bane in this format. It was when that goes off, you have a hard time. But I think Lucci's still in a good spot, and congratulations to Kobe for their finish there. Next up, we've got Nami. So this is Isiah's version of the build, Isiah versions of the build, and so I don't really have a lot to say about Nami. It's pretty known. This is always a deck that there's like a build and you can have a couple tech choices for it, and then that's kind of it. There are some tech choices in this one. Ideally, we have 2 copies of Hanger. Generally, we see like 1 copy, but if you're really afraid of the mirror match, this is definitely like the mirror match breaker in a lot of ways. So very, very strong there. We have the Amazon package, so we have like Marguerite there. We have like the 1-2K as well, which we have some of the Elder to be able to search for stuff. And then we also have like the swag copy of 3000 Worlds to be able to get rid of a 5 or less. So this card's not too bad, being able to get rid of cards that you're afraid of, right? I think like maybe if you're afraid of like Black Hill Luffy, if they play the 5-drop Luffy on curve, that can be really, really good for that. And other than that, we just have like the general stuff, right? Stake Dance is great for making sure that you get out of attacks and get your Kaya back. White Snake's really good for, kind of shutting down a turn at times. And this deck is just in a really good spot, I think. So I don't really have much more to say about Nami. You guys probably have your own opinions about it, but congratulations to Isiah for their finish there. Next up, we've got Sabo. So this is Daniel's version of the build, and Daniel's always cooking a little bit something for these tournaments. And I know that when the restriction list was announced, Sabo was definitely on a lot of people's mind with the fact that Red Purple Law was clearly a bad matchup for this deck. If you don't know what this leader does, it says Dawn times 1 opponent's turn. Once per turn, if your character with 5k power or more would be KO'd, you can give that character -1k for the turn instead of it being KO'd. So like you would be able to block with like a Borsalino, and then you'd be able to like make it a 5k and keep it around, right? But now, and like if you're playing as Red Purple Law, they could just bomb deck this, right? It doesn't really do anything. But now that Red Purple Law is not around, you can get some good advantage with these matchups, right? We do have like a Haruta, which gets to survive a little bit longer, I think, in some matchups. Being able to like use Karasu as a really, really good 4-drop, right? We have like Kuzan for like card draw, and also like reduction for like, I guess, a Garp or like even a Sabo later, since this is a Revolution army. So this is searchable offer Balo Betty. And then we also have like our Monkey D. Dragon, which this card on curve puts a lot of value out there. It also puts Dawn on our leader, which is important for getting our effect off. And then like your opponent can't even KO it with effects because you get the protection protection for it. So generally, I think this deck has like a lot of potential right now, and also has like a lot of potential against specifically Rob Lucci, because they're going to have a really hard time removing cards on your board because of that. I will say that we have like a worse version of Moria, since we don't have like a lot of ways to really gain as much value from that. But I think this deck is still in a good spot, and it's going to be interesting to see if someone's able to like consistently crack this, and if they're bold enough to take it to Cardfest in the first place. But this is I don't know. I like Sabo. I like what he does, and the removal and everything else with it is really, really cool. So congratulations to Daniel for going 5-1 with this one and getting their top with Sabo. And lastly, we've got Reiju. So this is Emil's version of the build. And I think Reiju is still like generally okay in this meta. Nothing too crazy. I think it's going to top in Cardfest 2, and it did top in Liverpool, but it does still have like a couple issues that, you know, existed before Red Purple Law was, you know, in power in a lot of ways. But and the main issues I find is that you still have like consistency issues with seeing your pieces a lot of the time, even though like this version of it's like playing like only the Reiju and the Ichi. We have a lot of like tech options, including like the Bon Clay, which this is a really interesting tech from it, since you can play it off the Porsche, which means you get that free value, and then also the fact that Bon Clay like can be a bigger attack later in the game. I think this is a really neat add for the deck in general. And then we do also have like it's interesting too, we're playing Judge, and we only get 2 cards from this, right? We get like a Reiju and an Ichi, right? That's it. But it's still like not too bad. I think it also helps in matchups like Bonney, where they have like that Dawn open at times. But yeah, I think Reiju's like this is a really interesting build, right? I think that there's some cool tech choices. We also have like this Sanji, which we can use to get like a draw at times, and yeah, just to be able to get the cycle, because we also have like Queen. Like we try to make this deck as consistent as possible, because we really do need to see like some stuff. And the issue with it too is that we're so dependent on seeing our good cards early, that if we don't, it gets really rough a lot of times. But I like this build. I like what it does. I still feel a little remiss to not see any copies of the Niji, because I think that's sometimes important for some removal. But I don't know. We'll see how Reiju does. I think it has a really good chance in this event, and or at least Cardfest at the end of the month or week. And congratulations to Emil for their finish there. So that's going to be it for this one. Again, if you guys want to see in the deck list, they're here on my website, Eggman Events, as well as a bunch of other events in this format. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Shouts to Strongest Wizard and Risu for helping me, and we'll catch you all next time.